Okay, so this video idea came to me, unfortunately, because of a run-in over the holidays with a certain woman. And I have been wanting to meet this woman. She's a friend of my family's, and I'd never met her. And I'm talking about my sister-in-law and brother-in-law. It's a friend of theirs, and I'd heard about her for a few years, and I really wanted to meet her. So I was excited. They were going to have her over while we were there, blah, blah, blah. I was warned ahead of time that she is intimidated by other women, so they were curious how she was going to be with me. So I'm like, great, this is off to a great start. True enough, she arrives at the house for the evening gathering, and we're talking in the kitchen, and I'm trying to ask her questions, and I notice that she really can't look at me, much less look me in the eye at all. And I'm like, okay. And my instinct with that is to what can I do to make her comfortable? What can I do to make this person comfortable? So that's what I tried. But the evening goes on, we're all talking, chatting, playing games, all that. But chaos ensued with me and her, and I'll get to more on that in a bit. To get us started though, have you ever, and I'm sure you have because I think we all have, felt like looking at someone or something, you feel this feeling of deprivation because you don't have that thing, you don't possess that thing's not in your world. And it's that discomfort you feel in all of that is envy. The discomfort you feel in that desire and that need that makes you not only want it, but feel like you should have it instead, maybe, or wishing you could take it from them kind of thing. Look, there are different levels of envy, but all of that's in there. So we all know that feeling to an extent. We all do something different with it. Look, again, envy is a natural human state. It's as natural as breathing, as being hungry, all those things. It's a natural state of human being to be envious, to feel envy. For me, the times when I will feel it most clearly are given my unsavory childhood, if I see a mother and a daughter together who seem really connected, and the mother seems very attentive and motherly, maternal with her, and not the friendshipy mom daughter ones, but a real maternal figure for her, and they feel very connected, that makes me feel envious. I want that so bad, and I will never have it. That's something you can just take off the list. It's never going to happen. So that leaves me in a kind of weird state, right? It is something I technically will never have, but I really am, but I really also do feel happiness for the couple, the mother, the daughter, and their relationship, and that there's one in the world that is great. I'm always happy that also exists for someone. The one other, I don't really tend to be an envious person because I do, I've been a therapist for a long time. I really see how there's always something behind whatever it is you're seeing in a person, whatever it is you're envying, there's always another side to it. So I really don't find myself feeling envious very often. Just is not, because I do tend to think well, they have that, but I can also get that if I really wanted. But there's this woman on Instagram. She's my kryptonite. She is my kryptonite. Her name is, you can look her up. Her name is Shelby Miller. She's she's an aesthetic injector. That's actually her handle on Instagram, aesthetic injector. And she also owns this med spa called Ruma. Now, in the world of aesthetics, she is a celebrity because subsequently to her, I used to see her for a long time. And subsequent to her, other injectors, she's in Utah, other injectors that I've had here in Miami, they're just worship her. So she's that kind of level of success. And on her Instagram, she is perfect. Her face is perfect. Her hair is long and perfect. Her family's perfect. Her house is gorgeous. Cars are gorgeous. Everything's gorgeous. Her business does incredibly well, has always done incredibly well, because I saw her from the beginning, like when she was just by herself in a little suite in the back of a hair salon, to when she has this huge med spa, you know? So I've seen her go from that to that, but she's always been super successful. And she's always just had an eye for it. She's always had an eye for business, an ear for business, and she's also incredibly good at injecting. So she's always all over the country teaching all this kind of stuff. I look at her and I see her pictures on Instagram. I hear her talking, and it just feels like, does anything ever go wrong for her? She has tons of money. It's really the money I'm envious of. Like, I do envy that money. I do. Where you don't really have to think or worry too much about anything. I do envy that. And I know that's the kind of money she makes. I see that and I'm like, she has no problems. She has all kinds of help, which is smart on her part. She has tons of help in her life to bring her to this like perfection that I see on the Instagram. Do I think she is perfect as a person? No, of course not. I mean, I have gotten to know her over the years. I know she's not. However, even though I know her, I can look at that Instagram and just get so down in that comparison thing, or like, I'll never have that thing. And she also has a mom she's close to, so maybe that's in there too. Let's just throw that in. Also, I want her perfect face. I think it's perfect. She has perfected her own face. I mean, maybe it's that. I really wish I had that power to do the things I want to do to my face myself. I'm sorry to say it, but yeah, that's in there. Forgive me. Please forgive me. But, anyway, like I said, when someone makes you feel like that, you have to really look at what's going on, not only for them, but just for you. Like for her, I'm sure there's lots of stuff behind the scenes and stuff about her and her personality that are great for business, not great otherwise. I am gonna guess that that's in there. But my personality makes me great at being a therapist, but it does not fit in other places. But it gives me, thinking about her gives me an opportunity to think about, well, what is it about what she has that I want? And I can't say I actually really know yet. I'd really have to think a lot more about her. There's so much in there to envy that I'm not exactly sure, but I do need to think about it so that I can hopefully just dispel the envy a bit and that feeling, that like icky feeling, Like I said, envy is natural, and envy is natural. However, what's not as natural is what you do with it. And so your parents and how you were brought up really do affect what you do with your own envy. Let me just be a therapist right now for just a few minutes and talk about where envy comes from when you're like a baby. So when you're a baby, most mothers really give up so much to tend to the baby all the time, right? They give up so much of their worlds, and the baby needs that and deserves that. But the baby, in a way, gets used to that, right? And which is good. It's good for their attachment needs and all of that, and their safety needs. But at some point, the baby will get disappointed, right? And mother won't be able to give something in the way that she was in whatever moment. And that'll start happening more and more. So the baby has to learn, like the baby becomes, envious in a sense of what mom has that she's not giving. Like, what are you doing? That's mine. And why are you giving it to someone else? Or, like, that's mine. And a baby has to be helped to tolerate that feeling of wanting while also feeling gratitude and love for the mom, which comes from the parents. Like if the parents see the baby's desire and want and their deprivation and mocks it or ignores it or they're shaming for it, it's just too much lack for the baby to tolerate. And that baby will grow up with a negative attitude toward that desire and toward the people who they feel withhold from them or in keeping something from them. Now, if you have parents who are soothing and careful with you about the deprivation you're feeling and the need you're feeling and make you feel like it's okay to have that, and you may not get it in this moment, but you will eventually, and it's not personal, and all those things, then you grow up being able to tolerate both envy and love and gratitude all at the same time. So you can imagine which one grows up to be the more envious adult prone to more envious attacks. Which is what I'm going to talk about now, envious attacks. Envious attacks. Now's the time to go back to that story I was talking about at the beginning. So we're at the gathering. Go back to the gathering in your mind, and this woman who's intimidated by other women can't look me in the eye. I'm trying to make her come. We're in between games or something, and the topic of therapy comes up. And so, of course, I'm all ears. This is my career that I've invested in for decades now, between school and work and study. And so I'm wondering, and people do always have lots of crazy thoughts about therapy that they will say to the therapist's face. So it's not abnormal, but it felt particularly pointed in this situation. So she and her husband are talking as if I'm not there. I'm right beside them. Talking as if I'm not there about how they don't need therapy. They talk to each other. They talk about everything. He says she makes him talk about everything like right then. They don't need it. They're good. Okay, but then why are you saying that if you feel so good? Like, why do you feel compelled to tell me that? And anyway, the woman goes on to, again, say she doesn't need it. She already is really good at noticing all of her problems. She doesn't need someone that helps her do that. And then she goes on to say, well, no. So they're saying they don't believe in it. Go back to this woman. She then says, I just don't believe in therapy. I don't believe in it. I have all these, I know what all my problems are. I don't need to sit down with someone and pay someone to tell me what my problems are. And all I said was, well, that's not what a therapist does, but okay. And I moved on. I turned away and moved on. It did get quiet. I felt fine, though, in that moment. I felt fine. I'd said my piece. I'd said enough. Got quiet. Someone else had to pick up the conversation and move things along momentarily. First of all, what compels you? What compels a person to tell another person who has dedicated the bulk of their life to studying this career they are currently in and tell them you don't believe in it? What is going on? It's aggressive. It's very aggressive is what we would say as therapists. It's aggressive and envious. It's an envious attack because it felt like shit. Like it's like she doesn't even see me as a person or is trying to like not make me a person by like acting like I'm not even standing there when she's saying this. And as though like, it doesn't matter how she talks about my chosen profession. It's so weird. So at that point, I did have to gather myself and put her out of my mind so we could go on with the evening. That was it on the therapy topics. It did not come up again. Okay, so my point is that's an envious attack. What I would say is I do know her job is one where I think her job's totally fine. Sounds fun in some ways. Like, I don't know, sounds good enough. But I do think it's one where she would feel intimidated by me and what I do. And like, I don't know, having my own practice or something. I don't know. And so, okay, fine. I don't care if she feels envious of that in some way. Like, that's fine. It's then the need to attack it. Like, that's really not okay. And that happens enough to me in my life where those are just people I immediately know. I seen what I needed to see. It's a no. So, that's what I do with people like that. But go back to Shelby, right? All I've ever done with her when I've been around her is I contain my envy. And I'm not saying I'm so great at this. This is just like so great at not attacking when I'm envious, but like, because I'm sure I've done that, but I am old enough to know how to not do that and regulate myself. But I would go to her and I would just ask her tons of questions and tell her how amazing it was. And I needed to know everything about how she did all of it and how she has the energy and all these questions. Like, I need to know. I want to know the information, right? And she in turn was really curious about me and how I knew what I knew and wanted to highlight me on her Instagram, during COVID, and talking about how it was for people at home, and stuff like that. So I think it just pays to like stay close to the thing you're envious of, because it's telling you something about what you want. Anyway, back to envious attacks. First category, criticism disguised as concern, which is I probably did do that with Shelby at some point. I probably was like, oh my God, how do you do it all? TBH, to be real. But anyway, that is one. And it's like, someone might say to you like, wow, that's a lot of responsibility. Are you sure you can handle it? Or that's so great that you think you can wear that outfit. I mean, it seems so cold out, but it's so great that you think you can wear it. I get this one. I get stuff. I used to get stuff with clothing a lot. Like people would say, oh, you're so dressed up. I didn't know it was a dress up. Like stuff like that, which is also falls under just like trying to yuck your yum, basically. Like take something away from you, poke a hole in it. People might minimize your achievements. Good thing so-and-so left so you could get that a promotion, implying they wouldn't have got it if that person was here. It's just subtle, but it's an attack. And of course that depends on tone. Like, of course, read the tone. I'm not saying don't read the tone. This is an exact thing all the time. I'm just saying a lot of times someone says that with a certain tone, you know what they're really doing. This is something my uncle used to say to me, and he's hateful. He's a hateful man. He used to say, well, I guess I could graduate college too if I had a mom paying for me and everything I did. Or like, no, I didn't have to work or whatever. Okay. But you didn't. Okay. Or undermining your confidence, talking about someone's outfit. Aren't you cold? Oh, that's one. I used to get a lot. Like if I wore something more scandalous when it was winter. Aren't you cold? No, that would be the only thing said. Aren't you cold? Like, grow up. And then there's also always gossiping behind your back. I mean, let's be honest. We all maybe talk about each other behind backs. But there is some nuance there. There's a way to do it that isn't nefarious. There's a way to do it that's really just steeped in like natural human desire to understand people, talk about people, vent your thoughts. We all need to sometimes just get our thoughts out to someone we trust, that kind of thing. That's different. But gossiping and like spreading something just to be spreading it in a way that is meant to harm, that really it's not meant to help anyone. Like, that's totally different, right? The big thing to remember about an envious attack, I will say, is you will know it's one because it makes you feel bad. Like, I, in my head, know exactly when one is happening. I have seen it very often, especially patients can have a lot of envious attacks, depending on the type of patient. So, I'm really used to it. I know it when I hear it. However, it does still a little bit get in, and I can still feel it as a little hurtful or painful. And like, it's the aggressiveness that hurts, and it's the underlying aggression in it that hurts. Like, why is it you're wanting to hurt me? Why are we doing this? And that can make you feel small. Now let's talk about how to handle envy, both when you feel it and when you are attacked with it. When it's you feeling the envy, as I've said, reflect on it, just own it. Honestly, just name it. Like, oh, I feel envious of that. Like, okay, no big deal. Reflect on it. Ask it some questions like, okay, what's that telling me about what I want, what I need, what I'm missing, what's the lack. Is it something that is just ego? Is it something that I really do want, that I need to try to secure for myself? Like, is it really something that I need to be upset about since I could go get it if I want it? Those kinds of things. Just let it be there, because there is nothing wrong with feeling that way. Just name it, let it dissipate, and it will probably decrease the charge of it when you're able to do that. And also, you take some control back into your hands if you're empowered to like look at it and ask it some questions. When you feel attacked by envy, I wish I had something great to say. What I do know from being a therapist and tolerating it and having to I have to regulate myself as a therapist. When that happens, it really is the best to just sit with it. Unless you're someone who knows immediately what you want to say right back, great, do you. Please, for all the rest of us, say whatever you want to say back. I don't care, but that's not me. And I'm just really not able to think like that. So, but what's best for me is to sit with it, sit on it, think on it a bit, think about what this person's actually telling me about something they really like about me and they envy in me, and be proud of what that thing is. Be like, yeah, that's great. You should be. You should feel envious of me. And I say that lightly, I'm not trying to I don't want anyone to feel envious of me. What I would want is for you to if something in me represents something you want and it alerts you to that, then great, awesome. So, and then like I said, if that's a person, there's a question about whether or not you're going to be around them again or whether or not you want them in your life. If there wasn't a question before about that, there's a question now, because you really do need to think about if someone is willing to do that to you and to hurt you to make themselves feel better, is that a person you really want around? For me, if someone has that capacity, it's a no. It's a no for me. I grew up with family members like that, like I mentioned, my uncle, my family's just sort of built like that. And that's the kind of stuff I would get all the time, including my mother. And so I just have a no tolerance policy on it. It just never goes well trying to because what do you end up doing? You end up trying to make yourself small, trying to make the person feel comfortable, or maybe I'd be super self-deprecating to make the person feel more comfortable about what it is they are envious of, or whatever. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You shouldn't have to do that in order to make someone comfortable. So it's not to not make them comfortable, it's to not make them attack you. It's not your job to make you comfortable enough so that someone